Hello Indie Warriors, welcome to I Dream of Indie Games, Old Gamer Joe here, and today we're exploring something a little different for the channel, a journey into the world of retro gaming. Here at I Dream of Indie Games, our love for gaming history runs deep, as you've probably seen in quite a few of our videos already. It's just impossible to overlook the influence classic retro titles have on the indie scene. With over 2,000 indie games already celebrated on this channel, we figured why not mix things up for one special video. Don't worry, we're not switching gears for good or anything like that. So, anyways, the topic of today's video is a Game Boy re-release of sorts coming to us from Incube 8 Games, and that title is Dragon's Lair: The Legend. Before we dive into these dangerous dungeons, why not become an indie legend yourself by joining us over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. You'll gain Discord access to the greatest indie gaming community around, enjoy early ad-free shows, get a personal shout-out at the end of every video we create, access a brand new podcast 3 days early before everyone else, and so much more. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Dragon's Lair: The Legend originally launched in North America back in 1991, so you might be wondering, why are you revisiting it now? Well, with the upcoming re-release from Incube 8 Games that we are discussing today, arriving this April, players outside of Europe can finally experience the European version of the game. And here's why that's exciting. This version is significantly more forgiving in terms of difficulty, making it a far more accessible alternative to the notoriously punishing original. Expect no fall damage this time, the chance to earn extra lives by collecting 42 of the game's tricky-to-grab life stones, and improved jumping mechanics as well. But don't be fooled, this is still a retro challenge through and through. Alright, time warp time, zoop, here we go. Dragon's Lair as a franchise dates all the way back to 1983, which is even before I was around. Created by Rick Dyer, this game was nothing short of groundbreaking for its time. If you've followed gaming even a fraction as long as I have, chances are you are at least somewhat familiar with this release. What made Dragon's Lair truly revolutionary was its stunning animation, brought to life by none other than Don Bluth, a former Disney animator. Dragon's Lair originally debuted in arcades, but has since been ported to countless platforms. It's a legendary FMV game that challenges players to input precise commands at just the right moments during beautifully animated sequences in order to progress. It's a true classic that was taking on those QuickTime events before they were cool. The Dragon's Lair franchise expanded far beyond the original game. It spawned a sequel, an animated TV series, comic books, and at one point, there were even plans for a movie, though I'm not entirely sure if that ever came to fruition. I don't think so. And of course, let's not forget this Game Boy adaptation, which added yet another chapter to the legacy of this iconic series. As a Game Boy release, it's obvious you won't be getting the stunning animations that made the series iconic. Instead, you're treated to a bite-sized platformer where Dirk the Daring embarks on a quest to collect 194 life stones and save the princess. That means that this particular entry is a significant departure from what fans might expect of the series. For starters, it simply doesn't feature many characters from the franchise. It also doesn't play much like the original games. Rather than facing off against enemies, the gameplay focuses almost entirely on the player's platforming skills and cleverly avoiding a variety of traps. That said, it does have something in common with the other entries. It's the difficulty, even with this watered-down version. Since this title dates back to 1991, the controls are very simple, just moving and jumping, and that's really all you need to worry about. There's no swordplay to be found here. The gameplay centers entirely on collecting items and platforming. To awaken the knight at the game's conclusion, you'll need to gather every single fragment of the life stone. Good luck with that though, because those fragments are seriously tricky to grab. You've got 10 lives in total, but while the environment is technically your only adversary, it does a brutal job of taking you down, time and time again. Hell, at times it's even hard to tell what's lethal. Spikes, water, torches, and on occasion, what feels like thin air are all capable of ending your run in an instant. Retro gaming at its finest. Well, maybe not its finest. There are 11 distinct regions to explore in total, which means this game isn't level-based exactly. Instead, it offers a surprisingly open feel for a Game Boy title. But here's where things get really wild. Remember how Super Mario Bros. 2 wasn't originally a Mario game and was actually a reskinned version of Doki Doki Panic? Well, hold my beer because this game isn't a true Dragon's Lair title either. It's actually a reskin of a 1985 release on the ZX Spectrum called Roller Coaster. Of course, a ton of work went into adapting it, changing the story, overhauling the visuals, and reworking it for the Game Boy's display, but wow, this completely blew my mind. Even I learn new things on the channel sometimes. Here's the somewhat harsh truth, however. Even when judged as a 1991 Game Boy release, Dragon's Lair The Legend wasn't, and still isn't, a great game. The jumping mechanics feel clunky, the level design relies on cheap tricks, and the graphics are decidedly mediocre. That said, I have to give credit where it's due in at least one category. The soundtrack is surprisingly catchy. I love me some good retro tunes, what can I say? Ultimately, purchasing this game is less about enjoying a polished gameplay experience and more about owning a piece of gaming history. And as we all know, not all history is great, but that doesn't make it any less important to preserve. So, if you are interested in adding an actual Game Boy cartridge of Dragon's Lair The Legend to your collection, pre-orders are now open over at the Incubate Games website. I'll include a link to their site down in the description box below, and just to be clear, this video isn't sponsored, there's nothing in it for me. Now, the version I imagine most of you will be going for is priced at $44.99 here in North America. With that, you'll get a sealed box, a clear cartridge of the game, complete with a protector, an instruction booklet, you gotta love that, some stickers, and a few extra goodies. Alternatively, you can snag the digital edition for just $4.99, which includes a ROM of the game, a PDF version of the instruction booklet, and the cover art. So what are your memories of Dragon's Lair, or this release in particular? Let me know in the comments below, but I gotta get back to like 50 zillion indie games now. So, if you enjoyed today's video, like, subscribe, do all those good things, check out our Patreon, and voice to the voiceless, I will see you on the channel. For far too long, you, the gamer, have been denied honest gaming coverage. Indie developers and publishers have lost their voice, but no longer. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames to join this epic campaign for indie visibility. The echo chamber trembles as our message grows louder. Voice to the voiceless!